I'm Wade Irely. This is Chris Terrell. We're the founders of Offerboard, which is a private placements platform for companies raising between $2 and $25 million. Raising money sucks. As the former CEO and founder of Surfair, I can personally attest to how difficult and challenging that fundraising process can be. In one 6-month stretch of 2012, I raised 3 rounds of funding totaling $15 million for my startup airline. And I spent almost the entire time raising money. That should be unacceptable for a company with a big vision that's growing as fast as we were. As a CEO, you need to be executing and doing, not selling investment bankers and investors on what you're going to do. But that's the hard part. You have multiple stakeholders. You have the company that you love and that you're building, and you have the investors who believe in you, and you have the banks that you're working with. So in order to innovate, we knew we had to address all 3 areas.
2 years ago, the Jobs Act made it possible for the private capital markets to innovate. But rules needed to be put in place to implement those changes. As head of the industry trade group CIFRA, I've seen both where those rules are and where they're headed. And we're building Offerboard to capture that marketplace as it emerges. A lot of talk about the Jobs Act is talk about crowdfunding. And that's an important part of what the Jobs Act did. But what the Jobs Act, the largest part of what the Jobs Act did was really allow innovations like the ones developed at Offerboard into the private placement marketplace. And so unlike crowdfunding sites, Offerboard is focused on growth stage companies, not startups, that are raising more than $2 million. Let's stop talking about what we have and show you a little bit about what it is. One of the key innovations that we've developed at Offerboard, and let's switch to the demo. One of the key innovations that we've developed at Offerboard is the fundability score. This is a score that looks at a company's data and compares it with the data of companies that have successfully and unsuccessfully raised capital in the past, and then provides the CEO information about what they can do to improve that score. Wade's going to show you exactly how it works.
So let's talk about Bob, the hypothetical CEO of Tiles R Us, an online tile distributor. He comes to the site, registers, tells us why he's raising money, answers a few basic questions, and then we ask a pretty in-depth look at what the company is, right? So he's going to tell us that he's 34 years old, he's been in the industry 6 years, he makes $210,000, and he did not come out of an incubator, he's got a 5-person board, and none of them are women, right? He clicks Get Your Fundability Score, and it's going to give him a score. Now, once you have a score, it also lets you go and say, okay, how can I improve my score? And it kicks back a series of methods. In this case, we haven't filled very much out, so a lot of them will be consider filling in more. But it'll tell you the ways that you can actually improve your fundability as a company. Now, you can go back and change that information, and you can say, okay, turns out we've put 2 women on our board, and I'm only going to take $135,000. Gets a new score, and you see his score is improved, because we know statistically both of those things will improve your likelihood of success as a company.
Let's switch off the demo. How did we build this score? First, we took the largest data set of small private offerings in the world, which is the Australian Small Scale Offering Board's data set. And we layered in data from other US and global databases, both public and private. We ended up with a really great data set. And then we put a great team to work using that data set to develop the fundability score. John Donovan, the former chief operating officer of Lending Club, worked with our data team, which includes quants from Wall Street and academia, former bankers internationally and domestically, and people who've worked in big law firms representing companies that are raising capital.
Our model is simple. For investors or issuers to sign up on the site, it's free. For any deals that transact on the platform, we take a 2% success fee. And we can do that through our partnership with a broker-dealer. If you want to engage us as your full-service investment bank, it's another 5%. It's very straightforward. Or you can use one of our specialty investment banks in your particular niche. Today, we have more than $1 billion worth of companies listed on the site. More than $250 million in active open fundraise on the day we launched. In addition to help me. In addition to to the companies we have on the site, we have a number of significant investors who are already playing in our playground. We've seen investors from private offices, Bain Capital, Credit Suisse, or Goldman Sachs who are already using the platform. And they're looking for people to invest alongside them. They're looking for companies to invest in.
We have a global inventory of deals. We've made partnerships with global platforms, deal sourcers, and brokers to bring in deals from multiple countries that have all gone through the process of getting on the site and listing their opportunities. And the market is big, and it's growing. Just since September 23rd, when Title II of the Jobs Act went into effect, it's become a $100 billion marketplace, and that's in just 7 months. It's so big that, as our chairman, who used to run the Asian Development Bank, likes to say, 80% of all jobs are created by companies that raise money through private placements.
Thank you.
All right. Good job. Judges?
I got a question. It seems that obviously there's a lot of these crowd platforms coming out, and so you have some of the classic marketplace dynamics, like if there's no people, there's no utility. If there's no utility, there's no people. Stacked up against a lot of the other competitors out there, what do you guys think is some of the thing that will set you guys apart?
I think one of the first things you're going to look at is more than $1 billion currently listed on the site, right? $250 million in open active fundraise. I think if you compare that to other companies in the spectrum, you'll see that that's pretty high. I don't know that we can claim the world's largest, but we're pretty darn close.
The other thing is that we're focused on not disintermediating the system, but re-intermediating it. We're really looking to help the existing players who are helping companies raise capital do that more efficiently and more effectively. And we've been very successful at bringing on partners that are bringing deals to the platform that they would have done through a traditional capital raising, that they're now doing through a platform-based raise.
And the third piece to that is that you're going to see the focus is on companies that are larger than what you're thinking of with normal crowdfunding, right? Crowdfunding is companies less than $1 million in fundraise. We're targeting 2 to 25 or even 50, right? So we actually might be that home for companies who crowdfunded their first round, and now they're going back for a second round.
But with 2%, you could also go to Allen or any of these other kind of companies that would help you out, and they might give you a more kind of personal experience than as a founder logging into a website and posting your site.
Yeah, most often you're going to see investment banks take a much larger piece than that 2%, right? And so you can do that here as well. Since we own a registered broker-dealer, we have partnerships with others, you're able to come to us and you can engage us as a broker-dealer to do that for you, that more hands-on approach. But if you want to manage it yourself, this is a way inside of a private, safe space that you can broadcast what you're doing on those larger raises.
So I have a question. You said $250 million in open active fundraise. How many of those, how much money closed? How many?
We launched 4 minutes ago, so none.
Okay, well, that answers that. So I have another question. One of the big reasons that investors invest in a company, even when it's in growth phase, is the vision and the adaptability of the CEO and the leadership team in general. How do you capture that in the platform?
So there's a number of, we didn't go through the variety of things that are really there and that the platform can do, but we take in all kinds of information. We use 2 examples, right? A CEO's salary and whether or not there's a woman on the board. Both of those are directly correlated and commonly known to have a positive impact on a company's performance, right? So those are easy ones to see, but there are many smaller. I think we have 60 to 70 variables that we're currently tracking and working with. And because we bought that exclusive access to the largest data set like it in the world, we have the most complete data set on what's happening. We continue to build that and continue to refine what those different pieces are to actually make that CEO better. So when you go in and you're going to invest in that CEO and his vision, he's more polished, he's better at what he's doing, and his company is healthier because we know statistically these things are going to drive that positive investor response.
But where is the vision captured? How are you able to? The fundability score is a metric, and then where's the vision? Basically, the dream, what you're buying into, the emotion, the charisma.
Yeah, so you're going to individually, I mean, you may transact directly on the site, right? But we're also going to connect you to that CEO. We're going to put you in front, just like an investment bank would, right? Investment bank's going to call you and say, hey, I've got a deal I want you to look at. And then you're going to sit down, you're going to meet with the CEO and the banker right there. We'll do the same thing. Now, we can facilitate all of it online. You can take it offline and have that discussion because there's no substitute. There will never be a substitute for that CEO who knows it and loves it. Like the woman who was just up here, right, and had that personal story. There's no substitute for that.
I have another question about the fundability score, which is not necessarily fun, but it's a very clever tactic to get people engaged. Do you really see it as something that investors will use, or is it more of a marketing tool to bring people to the site, to capture them? And do you see yourselves exporting the fundability score to other platforms?
So it's one of those things, it's like the cloud score, right? When it first came out, it was loose, and then it gets better and better over time. The more data you have, the more that you use it. It's certainly something that CEOs want. When I was running Surfair and we were raising money left and right, it would have been important to me to be able to see how I stacked up relative to other fundraisers. When you're raising money and we used to joke we were 5 guys in a barn with a spreadsheet, right? You have no idea how to value your company as a first-time CEO or even as a fifth when you really don't have much as assets. So seeing where you fit in that marketplace might actually be helpful. On the investor side, we use dating site style matching algorithms to help your